come here now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Great. So I run an agency called Pennock, and some of my team members are here today, but really the goal that we have here at Pennock is helping early stage brands figure out how to scale. We know scaling is hard, and brand founders and even early stage employees are usually tasked with so many different things to focus on. We want to allow them the freedom to focus on their lane of expertise, and that's what we do by coming in to take the ads part for them. We do ads and SEO, and that's why we're kind of well suited to speak to you all today specifically about TikTok ads. A little bit about me. I am Nikki. I have worked in growth marketing my entire career. Early on in my career, I was fortunate enough to land on the founding e-commerce team of a well-known brick and mortar store called Cost Plus World Market back then. It's now World Market. But through that exposure, I was able to start working with a lot of agency partners, grow and scale programs quite quickly. And what I learned through all of that was there was so much more excitement on the agency side. And so I went and moved agency side where I helped entertainment brands in the e-commerce space figure out how to sell more and more of their entertainment goods. And that was a really quickly growing agency. So I was able to grow the team quite substantially and grow the profit for the overall agency. I bebop between in-house and agency side thereafter. And I think what was my aha moment was there was just a level of disconnect between the in-house team and the agency team. And so I formed Pennock as a solution to that, where we really act like an extension of our clients' in-house teams, finding more scalable solutions to grow and move whatever marketing programs they have going on in-house. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Sammy. She is an ad specialist here at Pennock. She oversees about up to 10 different CPG brands at any given time, running ad strategy and day-to-day optimizations. And over the past few years, she's really grown her skills related to social ads in particular, with a heavy interest in TikTok. And prior to coming here at Pennock, she was actually in-house for fashion brands. So super excited to share the floor with her today on this conversation. And I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the brands we've worked with in the past or present. These are partners of ours. We really don't treat them too much like clients. And we really like to work with those brands that have proven growth and are looking for about 30% minimum year-over-year growth is really kind of the sweet spot in terms of how we help brands. So getting right through it, now that I've kind of explained how we're maybe qualified to talk to you about TikTok ads, we want to give you a little bit of the lay of the landscape as to what's going on in the TikTok industry and then ads overall. So obviously, hardly a week goes by where we aren't hearing about TikTok in the news, and the long-term status and the turbulence of what will happen in TikTok in the US is top of mind for all of us in the ad space. So our goal today is to really educate you on how it's still beneficial to enter TikTok as an organic presence and on the brand side coming forward here. Perfect. Just go forward. So let's look at a couple numbers here. So TikTok, obviously a huge player now in the social space. It has over 1 billion active users. The largest audience is here in the United States at 143 million. And the amount of time and energy people are putting into this platform is crazy high. So almost an hour per day is the average watch time of TikTok, or engagement time of TikTok. Engagement rate here is quite high. And while we're just kind of getting started on the ad side of TikTok, most of our brands are spending, I'd say, like 20 to 40% of their budgets on TikTok Max. TikTok is overall seeing great growth in terms of just more brands and more saturation of the ad platform of TikTok. So what does this mean for you guys as probably brand owners or someone involved in the brand side? So I think the first thing to call out is users are there to be inspired, to discover things, and to learn. So as we think about approaching TikTok both organically and for ads, we really want ads that feel, or presence that feels natural to what people are doing there and why they're coming there. I think a couple other key things to point out is just the engagement in videos by brands ads by brands. And in particular, this 38% of people interacted with videos posted by brands when they were doing research. So it's just a good opportunity to use the search mechanism in TikTok, which is becoming more and more talked about and used, to make sure we're showing ads to people at the right time. And I'm going to kick this off to Sammy here in a minute, but a couple things I want you guys to keep in mind as we go through these next sets of slides are creator-generated content, formerly known as UGC, isn't going anywhere. We expect it to be as prevalent in 2025 as it is this year, and brands are spending more on creator-generated content. I would say the lens of creator has changed a little bit, and the focus of the assets nowadays seems to be a little bit more aligned with educating audiences rather than just sell, which I think we all as consumers can respond to quite positively. The next thing to call out is just the purchase powerhouse of TikTok. So these stats, 67% of TikTok users have purchased something that they were shown on TikTok when they weren't even potentially looking to purchase. And then similarly, 37% of people have bought as a symptom of something they were exposed to on TikTok, either through shops or through e-commerce. And the final thing we'll get to today is a little bit about brand trust and reputation, and how even playing on TikTok ads as an awareness angle can help build long-term growth for your business. So with that, I will kick it to Sammy.
All right, so the main point of TikTok here that we're focusing on is the ad content. So as an agency working on the side of paid media with brands, we typically have a lot of frameworks that we keep in mind to get performance, to make sure that we're honing in on a strategy for each client. But when it comes to TikTok, we kind of focus on more of a no one size fits all, meaning that every different brand is a little bit different. We've outlined here three different points mainly that we focus on when we're talking about these brands and trying to figure out what content strategy works best for them. So we recommend testing audiences in relation to whatever your campaign goal may be. And TikTok offers a lot of different variations for this, not only for funnel variation, but for actual ad asset types, which we'll get to in just a little bit. We also, depending on the goals for our clients, we recommend doing different kinds of content strategies. And based on that, it's just all dependent on whatever your brand voice is and how you want to showcase that with the different kinds of opportunities TikTok offers. So with that in mind, that comes into creative hooks and product focuses in your content, just making sure that you're really honing in on your strategy and finding out what works for your brand on this platform, especially because TikTok is all about creativity, entertaining, and creating content that is highly engaging. Whereas on other platforms, it's not as strong as a powerful social media in that way. And TikTok is quickly becoming that kind of source and search engine location for people. So moving a little bit more into TikTok strategy as far as ad content, something that we say often is don't make ads, make TikToks. Basically what we mean by this is your ad content should capture user attention in a way that a regular organic TikTok would. You don't want it to stand out as a promotion, as an ad. You want people to see it organically in their feed and to almost not recognize it as they're being sold something, but instead for it to be natively in there in a seamless interaction for them to be truly engaged with the content you're showing. So it should be leveraging viral moments, humor, uniqueness of TikTok content that is for your brand. All of this can fall under capitalizing on dance trends, memes, or simply making content that speaks to users just beyond selling whatever it is you're trying to promote. So with this, TikTok offers 5 different ad formats. There's Spark ads, search ads, shopping ads, in-feed video ads, and carousel ads. All of these different ad types kind of fall into different parts of the funnel, which we've outlined here, of being unaware to being fully aware of your product, and basically educating them throughout each step of the funnel with these different asset types. So all of them fall into these different funnels based on what type of content you're able to include in the actual ad itself. So we've outlined that here a little bit, what you see in each funnel as in like entertainment and education. Underneath, you'll see the types of ad types that we think fall best into these categories based on what we tested with some of our clients. And then under the middle and bottom of funnel, you'll see that there too. Those are a little bit more focused on truly educating the benefits of your product versus a competitor. And then at the end, really getting them to convert and understand why they should purchase your product and leading them to a conversion event. So like we said, again, you don't want to make ads, you want to make TikTok. So keeping all of that in mind, creating content strategy that is more native to the platform, but also understanding where each ad type falls in the funnel is really, really powerful and really beneficial when you're building a strategy. And if we want to go forward, so this is kind of detailing all of those 5 different ad types I mentioned before. So this one you may have actually seen on your For You page. You're scrolling and you look and it's a video, you're engaged in it, and then you realize at the bottom it says promoted, music, and sponsored. And you actually realize it's an ad. It's not just a video that you're seeing on your For You page. So this is an in-feed video ad. It shows up natively in your simple For You page where people are scrolling. It can last up to about 60 seconds, but we recommend about a 15-second window. And even in that 15-second window, you have about the first 3 seconds to truly capture someone's attention. So with that being said, some of the best practices we recommend is to really have like a strong visual and a hook at the beginning that really draws them in. And you can get really detailed with all of those hooks, but basically it's whatever you're trying to promote or whatever your goal is at that point. If you're trying to educate, trying to get people to convert, the more interactive that you can be with the audience who's watching, the more successful that's going to be based on your goal there. So some of the benefits and key features specifically for this ad type is that it is a full experience, meaning that it is a 9:16 format. So it really does seamlessly fit into the environment of TikTok. It also is sound on by default. Not everyone is searching on platforms on social media with their sound on, but TikTok does have data proving that people typically are on the platform with sound. So with this, you can truly engage people by using popular sounds, voiceovers, things like that truly capture more attention and draw them in to actually stay for a couple of seconds and learn a little bit about what you're promoting. Also, call to actions and targeting options are available for this. You can get really specific with targeting depending on the campaign objective that you're setting up. But with this, it can be really strategic as far as how deep in the funnel you want to get with these video ads. And then moving on to the next one, we have search ads toggle. So Nikki kind of mentioned this a little bit, that basically TikTok is becoming a search engine. So for the younger generation, for Gen Z, it is actually about 40% of them have been basically say that they prefer using TikTok as a search engine versus using something like Google or Bing. So with that in mind, this is an addition that you can do to in-feed video ads. It's simply something you toggle on, and it allows your video to show up in the search bar, which you can see over here on the right. There is an actual page in TikTok where you go and you can search for questions, hashtags, simple keywords you'll see here, and then your video shows up with like a snapshot, and then people will click on it, and then the full video plays there as a regular in-feed video ad. So the big, huge benefit about this is you can get really detailed with the optimization of keywords. One of the things that we usually use is a hashtag keyword. So that's something really strong and powerful you can use. You add in these keywords based on interests, behaviors, and hashtags. You can get really specific with those. So if someone's searching for this problem, your product provides a solution to that. It will show up with that as long as you include those interests and behaviors in your targeting there. It's also extremely powerful as far as the fact that you're showing up against competitors without having to directly call them out in your content. So say you're a fragrance brand and you show up next to Tom Ford Beauty, somebody may look at that and then they see your ad and they want to actually see, oh, this is a fragrance brand I haven't heard about. So you're showing up to competitors who you may not typically have enough budget or directly call them out in your campaign targeting or whatever it may be. So now you're being shown against that, and it's really giving viewers an opportunity to learn more and see different brands that they might not have seen before. Also, you can get a lot of data insights behind this. So based on the interests and behaviors you're including, you can see where user behavior is happening, and that can better hone your strategy as well. So there's a lot of data when you use search ad toggles just to see where people are actually clicking on your ad, which tells you what keywords and what questions that people are searching really are relevant for what you're promoting. And the next one we got is Spark Ads. So this one is probably something a lot of brands use. We use this quite frequently with some of our brands just because they have a lot of great organic content. So just a little background on Spark Ads. They basically are the same thing as Meta Ads boosted posts. So it's the same thing. Account posts an organic video, you then put advertising dollars behind it, and now it's turned into an ad. You can add a call to action button, and you can add a landing page that will direct them to then convert on that landing page. But in these examples you can see to the right, these are typical organic posts that we then just put the budget behind. So the big benefits here is that it's a little bit more authentic to the platform, just because you can see they're using text features that are typically used in organic content on TikTok. So people recognize that, and it's just more seamless in the For You page feed that people are seeing. So they're a little bit more trustworthy as far as that. You also can use here the organic success of the post to know exactly whether or not to use this as a Spark ad. So taking a look at, did this post organically do well? Did it have high engagement, clicks? Was there a lot of views on the post? Yes, okay, we're going to put budget behind this. And typically what TikTok does, then it spreads it to audiences similar to those who organically interacted with the video, and then just kind of snowballs that success into a larger reach than what you would have had organically. So with this Spark Ads, there's another aspect that kind of makes it even more exciting. There's whitelisting opportunities you can do. So working with creators and influencers, with Spark Ads, you can simply take an authorization code. They post a video organically on their account, and now you're authorizing that to be shown as an ad on your account. So in tandem with them as a partner, you're promoting it with advertising dollars, and you're reaching their audience as well as yours. And this basically just allows it to be more of a top of funnel option, versus whereas before a regular Spark ad is probably more middle funnel, bottom of funnel, since it's a lukewarm audience who already knows your brand. This way you're reaching people who may not know anything about your brand, people who really only follow that creator or that influencer, and now they're learning and educating themselves through them about your brand. And that kind of leads me into here, shopping ads. So this is TikTok's way of taking advantage of their TikTok shop, which a lot of brands are still kind of getting a hang of because it is fairly new and they're working out the kinks. But shopping ads is just a way to promote all of your products in the TikTok shop. So it's a seamless shopping experience in the platform. The only way that you can use shopping ads is through a campaign with the objective of product sales. So it is specific to that objective. You first have to have a TikTok shop set up and a catalog connected. So once all of that is good to go, you have that campaign set up. You can then take basically what we did before with Spark Ads, take an organic post that has a product tagged to your TikTok shop, and then you're putting advertising dollars behind it, and now it's being spent. But instead of people going offsite to the landing page, they're now just shopping within the platform on TikTok Shop. And you can upload up to 20 separate different products. Even if you're only promoting one in the video, you can link to a bunch of different ones, and you can see which products are clicked on the most. There's data behind that as well. So seeing if we promote this, are people truly clicking on that product, or are they clicking elsewhere? And it kind of gives you some information there as to what you should be promoting and what's the most successful. So the main benefit here is it's a lot of less friction for viewers, for consumers to purchase, because they're not having to leave the platform. They're staying on TikTok, and you're able to scale your product catalog. So like I said, you can add up to 20 products on the video post that you're sharing. And with that, you're able to see a little bit more what people are clicking on and get more data behind your catalog and your products that you're offering. With this, similar to whitelisting, there's an option for affiliate partners. So this is really similar to whitelisting. The only difference is that affiliate partners is a program TikTok offers, and you can do gifted or commission partnerships. Basically, all you're doing here is somebody will tag your product from your shop in their video post, and then you're able to spark it, so to speak, as a shopping ad on your account. So it's very similar to Spark Ads, but this way you're only able to do it in a shopping ad campaign with the objective of product sales. So a lot of really great updates happening with these. They're continuously improving it. So we'll start to see this a little bit more common, but it's worked really well for a lot of our clients already. And then moving on to carousel ads. So this one's not as typically used. It's a little bit more it's not as popular, and you'll see why for a couple of reasons, but it does have a lot of opportunity. On the right here, you'll see the first image is showing a carousel, a standard carousel ad. The one on the right is showing a VSA carousel ad, which is just basically stands for video shopping ad, which is what we just discussed. So the difference is a standard carousel ad is done in a traffic or video view or like a typical conversion campaign, whereas a VSA is only done in that campaign with the product sales objective. So only done in the campaign with TikTok Shop connected. The VSA, you are able to use your catalog, and it allows for dynamic product recommendations. It also allows each image to be directly linked to the product that is being shown, as well as you're able to include different call to actions on each slide. Whereas in the standard carousel, you are uploading images individually. So each of these images you can upload manually, and you can put different copy on top of each image. So with that, some of our best practices that we like to recommend is creating a story with standard carousels, including text overlay that kind of draws people in to go to the next slide and getting them to engage a little bit more with your brand, and hopefully getting them to click on the call to action there to then convert. But the main point with that one is that it's customizable cards. That's a huge benefit because you're able to include different kinds of images. You're able to get enhanced engagement as people slide and you're drawing them in. They're spending more time on this type of ad than they probably would on a video ad. It just gives you a higher engagement rate and ultimately a higher conversion rate, specifically with ESA carousel ads. Just like we see on other platforms, they're really simple but highly engaging because people are being directly taken to the product, and it's just showcasing product by product. And I believe, so at the end, we talk a little bit here about stickers. So this isn't necessarily an ad type, but instead it's an engagement tool that TikTok offers. So you'll see here on the left, these are sticker graphics. On the right, this is a poll example of a sticker. So there's three main types. There's hashtag stickers, polls, and countdowns. Some of the benefits here is that you're able to truly engage with your audience on a level that a lot of brands aren't taking advantage of at the moment. So you're going to be able to stand out a little bit more, but you're also creating an environment for your customers to be part of your brand rather than for them to just be audience members. So for example, here on the right, we've had some clients who've used poll stickers in the purpose of asking for feedback on restock information. So they wanted to restock a dress in this color or this color. They asked their audience members which color, they got a response. So now they're doing a restock. Now they're sharing an ad with a countdown sticker that basically tells them this color is going to be restocked at this time. So now you're engaging people throughout every part of the journey of restocking that product, ultimately getting them to be more engaged in your brand and also feel like they're part of a community a little bit more than they would if you're just sharing a simple video on their platform. And I believe after this, we kind of just went through here showing you a couple of our case studies. So this one is a fragrance brand that we work with. This is an example of a search ad case study that we did with them. So this is what I had talked about before, where you toggle on that search option. Basically, it's an in-feed video ad that is showing up in the search bar when people are searching for specific keywords. So I included here some examples of the interest and behavior targeting that we use and some of the hashtag targeting as well. So for this one, we did fragrances and perfumes. Some of the hashtags were like fragrances, fragrance layering, things that we wanted our video to show up for. And with this, you can see some of our results were really great. We've seen conversions increase by about 19% just within 30 days of using this. And overall, our return on ad spend was about 150% stronger than it was before. So we've had great results using search ads, especially for brands who are working to earn more awareness and new customers. We're really getting a lot of increased visibility here, and it's just allowing our brands to reach people who they normally wouldn't reach with a typical audience targeting. And then another example case study that we've done, this is an example of a Spark ads. They posted this organically. We put some advertising dollars behind it. We saw extreme results happening. I'm kind of outlining them down here at the bottom, but we were ultimately earning higher engagement, more conversions without having to create a totally new asset. We just repurposed their content, and it was probably one of the simplest things we could do, but we saw extremely great results. We saw about a 70% increase in click-through rate, about 45% reduce in cost per click, and overall, this single ad provided about 40% of the conversions for the campaign during that time period. So we were able to really capitalize on the organic success. We saw it trending and performing really well organically, so we decided to put money behind it, and it did not disappoint at all. So just some examples here of how these ads really can be beneficial, and these different tactics really fall into different categories depending on what your brand is able to produce, as well as what your ultimate goal is funnel-wise and KPI-wise.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sammy. That's a lot of information to absorb. Great. So I'm going to pick back up and go through creative strategy here a little bit. So we just talked about the different type of ad units. We kind of hyper-focused on Spark ads being a hero for us using creator-generated content, as well as having the search toggle enabled so that our ads can show up in search results. So those are kind of like the two majors going on there. As we move forward, we want to talk about the process overall for creative development, because creative is going to come forward as kind of being the hero, the everything. And so the first thing brands need to do is kind of go back to their core persona and figure out their product, their buyer decision questions. And making the goal with the creative is to make sure that the assets that they are developing are going to resonate with this core audience wherever we find them. So this could apply for other ad platforms too, not just TikTok. The next thing we have to do is figure out ways to differentiate those messages we believe are going to resonate. And so we talk through this a lot in the agency lane as hooks or angles by which we're going to unlock and deploy messages that resonate. And then the final bit here is creative output is super important for brands and agencies to do at this point. So making sure we have enough creative to surround sound build the campaigns to scale is really, really important. Rule of thumb could be every campaign should have at least 5 assets in it, maybe 10 assets in it. And then the frequency by which we refresh assets is going to depend and skew wildly based on budgets as well as engagement rates and the speed at which things start to see a decline in performances. So I don't have a one size fits all for how frequently ads should be replaced or plan to be replaced. We usually use that leaning into overall ad spend as a first rule of thumb. But getting into creative a little bit more, what has evolved for us over the last few years in the ad lane is machine learning advancements are really changing the landscape for media buyers and ad buyers. And so a lot more of the focus is on creative strategy and landing page strategy. And this bar chart here that sums up to 100% really shows what parts of elements or tactics really equate to a great experience from your ad. And we're seeing almost 50% creative down there at the bottom, like huge, right? So what that means for us is we need to figure out the creative that's going to engage, but also we want to back into making sure we're reaching the right audience through machine learning, making sure the frequency and recency by which they're being reached is aligned with what your data shows on the back end. So if we have a customer path length that is 5 touch points and a lag time of also 5 days, then we know how many times we have to reach these people, and the recency by which we have to reach them over and over to stack up a really solid strategy. So there's a lot to look at here. This is a traditional funnel. We're moving people from unaware, problem aware, all the way to fully aware and through a couple different tactics. But what I want to focus on here today for the sake of like hooks and angles of creatives are when we have audiences that are at different stages of awareness of your brand, what types of assets should go forward. They're likely going to be spark. They're likely going to be with search toggle on, as we just learned. But what hooks are going to resonate at different parts of the funnel is the next thing to explore. So if we take a hypothetical, let's say a nail polish brand, and it's a nail polish brand that has the fastest drying nail polish in existence. When we think about telling people who are unaware of the product and they don't even know they're in market for nail polish, let alone the fastest drying nail polish, the types of hooks that are going to resonate with them are probably founder stories. What did the founder experience that gave them the aha moment to go create this brand? What was this person's journey through research, through development to come out with this really compelling, world's fastest drying nail polish? As people get a little bit more into problem aware, solution aware, and product aware, we're going to hook them into examples of experiences. We could have a split screen of different experiences by which one gets their nails done. They go to the salon, maybe takes an hour and a half to drive there, get the nails done, wait for them to dry, and then drive home. Another person could be doing their nails at home themselves without the fastest drying nail polish. 30 minutes later, they need to make dinner. Oh my God, my nails are so smudged. So that would be kind of showing someone how they have a pain point that can be solved through this world's fastest nail polish, drying nail polish. So those are things we would be using to get people further immersed into liking what our brand's about and hooking into what our brand is about. And then when people are finally fully aware of your product, your brand, maybe ready-ish to buy, that's where we want to layer on things related to third-party credibility. So this could be press mentions, this could just be testimonials from your website, and any kind of trends that are happening in the ad landscape that we could deploy. So a lot of what we see today on TikTok is, this is my new favorite hair straightener. If you're 45 and have really bad bags under your eyes, this is the best eye cream for you. So those are the kind of hooks we would want to be using at the bottom of funnel where we're really enticing people to convert today. This is our direct response bucket. So as we get through this, a couple ad specifications, and this is really kind of like all the ad specifications for TikTok, but we want to call out a couple of the highlights here. So one, keep your video short. People don't have attention spans. We work with a couple founder-led brands that do make over 1 minute videos and they're highly successful, but that's really outliers. So videos that are about 9 to 30 seconds in length are going to be key here. As Sammy has mentioned earlier, the aspect ratio is hugely important. So we need to make sure that this is 9:16 for everything we're pushing forward on TikTok, unless it's a carousel ad. What we find is when someone's loading a video that is not 9:16, they're going to have fewer impressions, which means a higher CPM to serve those impressions. So not ideal from an ad landscape. And then similarly, ads with sound, so trending sounds, music in the background, all of that is going to increase impressions, which then means a lower CPM, ideal for everybody in the ad space. As we're thinking through the aspect ratio, one thing we want to be aware of is the safe zone. So anything that's sitting on the margins of the ad unit where native elements of the TikTok platform will lay over is not ideal, right? So most of the key things that we need to put into our ads should be focused more in the center of the landscape there. Perfect. So I wanted to show you a couple examples of different ads we ran with clients and some of the success of them. So problem solution is something we use for those colder audiences who are maybe unaware, problem aware, solution aware, but don't know us by brand name. And the problem solution kind of walks people through potentially a storytelling angle of how this service, this product, this thing helped them in their life, in their business, what have you. So what we see here with problem solution oriented ad units is a really strong attention rate, which is 3-second views divided by impressions. And we want this to always be above 25%. So an attention rate of 30 is great. And this also gets us a better click-through rate than everything else we have in the ad platform at one given time. So these results are comparing each of our individual brands, a single asset compared to their overall account at this given time, likely a 30-day window. The next one we wanted to talk about is benefit-driven. And benefit-driven is where we get into typically more return on ad spend objectives. We are getting people to try to buy at this point. And so this is where my ingredient list is better than someone else's out there. My process is slicker, faster, whatever. These are the kind of benefits that the user gets by consuming, using your product. And so not only is the click-through rate really high for benefit-driven assets compared to our average, the return on ad spend is also increasing. So that's really helpful for us to see. And then the final example here we'll go through is third-party credibility. So this is where we're pulling in some press quotes or those user testimonials. Obviously, we all kind of know why these would work, but seeing a really strong click-through rate and return on ad spend significantly better for these assets is really just a compelling angle for doing bottom of funnel. And all of this to say examples of creator-generated content, as we saw here in a lot of what we just looked at. So that leads us to a final concept we'll go through today, which is the halo effect that we see in the TikTok landscape. And what we mean by this is we do intend for brands to build a full funnel strategy where some of their awareness play is focused on video views, on average watch time, or even click-through rate. And we'll get into some of the numbers here. So the halo effect has helped us because, one, when we think about TikTok overall compared to the other ad spaces in market, both CPM and cost per video view is significantly lower still today than other ad platforms. So that's a win for an awareness play. The next biggest win is engagement. So compared to Meta, their closest competitor from an ad play perspective, we see higher attention rate and higher average watch time on TikTok. So that's really beneficial for us too. The next two buckets I'm going to get into in this visual here on the next slide. Oh my goodness, I went the wrong way. So what we did here, what we're looking at is a brand that did not have substantially different anything going on in a 2-month period. And these are just the last 2 months. So April compared to May. They didn't have any new product launches. Their Marcom calendar was kind of flat. Therefore, they planned their budgets kind of flat month over month, April to May. And what we decided to do for the first time ever for them in May was launch some of their budget on TikTok ads. Prior to that, they were just Meta, Google. And when we launched on TikTok, we still had the same full budget, 92,000 for the whole month. We took 20% of that for TikTok ads. So that's about $18,000 rather. And by building that full funnel play for this particular brand on TikTok, we were able to see pretty significant changes on their site performance. Now, I recognize this is correlation, not causation, but just to see this impact of like, hey, nothing really different happened in the market for us during this particular month of May, yet the business was so much healthier, is something to take into consideration when thinking through what you want to do from a full funnel perspective and really from an awareness perspective. Does it make more sense to become an awareness play on TikTok than some of the other channels you might think through for ads? So that brings us to, well, what are these next 3 things that you think we should do to be successful? This slide breaks it down for you. So there are 3 campaigns that I suggest anyone getting active on TikTok ads deploy. And each of these campaigns can be deployed with as little as $50 a day. So we're talking about $150 daily budget, full all in. And let me break down all of these campaigns in a little bit more detail. So when we think about creating an awareness with a cold audience, people who are not problem aware or solution aware, we want to hook them with a video campaign. So the objective of the campaign setup in Ads Manager is going to be a video view campaign. We're going to realize whether or not this campaign is successful based on the attention rate, which is 3-second view divided by impressions. And now that we've built the audience, we're going to go out and look for our 5 best, highest engagement organic pieces of content so that we can use these as spark ads. And this can be our owned content. It can be creator content, either on the creator's page or our page. But we really want to layer into what has already worked for us to some degree on TikTok. Ideally, they'll hook back to these hooks listed here in the top section of stories, secrets, pain points, etc. But if they don't, that's fine. Don't sweat it. Just push the thing live. We're going to figure out what's successful if it has hit an attention rate of 25%. The next campaign we're going to build is another awareness campaign, but this objective is going to be traffic. And we're going to intentionally target the same people we targeted in the audience above, because we want that audience to feel like we're bigger than we are, to feel like they can't get away from us as a brand. And so this is a good way to layer into that. Here again, we're going to pick some assets that are creator-generated content, leaning into the hooks listed here, proof that the product works, us versus them, or those trending ad topics we were talking about, like if you're 45 and you have bags under your eyes, that kind of angle. If you don't have creator-generated content, have someone on your team make it. And we're going to push that live with the goal of a click-through rate of 1%. And then finally, your last campaign you're going to push live, ideally pointing to TikTok shops. But if you're not live on TikTok shops, you can still point to your e-commerce store. We do see higher return on ad spend when we point to TikTok shops, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it live yet. What we're going to do in the remarketing bucket is we're going to go after people who have watched our videos from the top of the funnel video view campaign. And we're going to go after people who've been to our website but haven't converted. And here we again are going to pick 5 assets that are leaning into direct response. This is the place where we can subtly say buy, which is why we're going to go after third-party credibility, promos, hooks, trends, things like that, in terms of what the asset should look like. And we need about 5 there too. So once you've set this up, we're going to go through this loop. Day 1, you're pushing all the things live. If you can only push one thing live on day 1, have it be your video view campaign. The other 2 campaigns can come in a little bit later. By day 5 and 5 to 7, you're going to have spent enough, in air quotes, to know what's going to be working here. And so the more you spend, the more you'll learn. The faster you spend, the faster you'll learn. But I think within a smaller budget, within 5 to 7 days, you can learn and start to pause stuff down. From there, you're going to reflect and iterate, reflect on what and analyze what had worked from what you launched on day one, what didn't work, and see the commonalities between them. So you know how to give your creative team or yourself, if you're doing the creative, the direction as to like what to augment, change, and iterate from that last set of ads that did or did not work. And by about day 14, you're able to launch the new ads, the iterations of the ads, and you're going to launch those in a new campaign. So at this point, you've basically duplicated all of the campaigns so that you can put your net new assets in new campaigns, and your old campaign is going to kind of become your business as usual. You're going to continue to scale and grow performance in that area. But this is going to be a cyclical thing that you're going to do every 14 to 30 days and really rinse and repeat how to get your KPIs for each of these objectives to grow as quickly as possible. So that's really kind of the key methodology to success. We are done. That concludes our presentation. So we've got a couple offers for you here at the end. I think the first one for brands that are looking to explore, maybe happen live on the account, but they aren't sure if their tactics are working. You can book a call with me and Sammy, and we'll go through and audit your account live with you. And then we've got a couple other options here as well, but goal kind of being, if you feel like you're not in a place to decipher, take this to the next level on your own, we're happy to spend some time with you and give you some of the tips from the experiences we've had. So any questions? Wonderful. All right, Alice, I don't know if you wanted to wrap this up.
I see a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm muted. Actually, there is a question by Desaya. Do you want to open up your camera and ask the question by yourself? Or you want me to ask for you? Here you go. Go ahead.
You know, that's a good idea. Yeah, so I actually run a food brand, and it's a plant-based brand. And I just literally signed up for TikTok account and still getting everything set up. So it's all new. We're starting from ground zero. So if you have any recommendations with how to be successful on TikTok as a food brand, I would really appreciate it, and just, how to work with the creators successfully.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what you're going to find out there by just doing some searches is going to hold true to my recommendation, which is, I think, like seeding the product to people to try and to give real feedback is going to help a lot to get the both organic side of TikTok going and to be an opportunity for you to use in ads. So I would probably lean into that as much as you feel comfortable and can handle tackling. And then from a brand perspective, I think one of the things that Sammy and I were reflecting on before this conversation is there is this movement, and Sammy, you might want to take over and speak to it, where brands have kind of hired in-house creators, if you will, to help represent the brand. And so if that's an angle of interest, I think having someone who is already pretty prevalent on the platform come in and take over your account as a member of your brand is another good way to attack it. And Sammy, I don't know if you have anything else to layer on there.
Yeah, so the one account that we have in mind that I've been seeing a lot of is with Set Active. There's an influencer named Sam who's basically taken over their account and grown their account exponentially in the past couple of months since he started working there. And like alongside of that trend, what they've been doing with brand accounts is they're now becoming more like typical entertainment TikTok accounts. They're not so focused on selling the product, but like sneakily they are still selling the product in those videos. So it's truly a lot about like capitalizing on the trends, memes, different kind of comedy things that are happening, as long as it makes sense with your brand. So if you're plant-based, finding things that like maybe vegan people would like, kind of mock yourselves a little bit, make jokes around like why we're plant-based, but simultaneously as you're doing that, focus on like the benefits of like why your product's plant-based, all the different benefits of the product, how it's created, what it tastes like, those kinds of things. If you don't have someone on your team who's already making TikToks, if you're comfortable being the face of it, that's also part of it too, is having a consistent face on the brand. One of our clients, every time we have this one person who's in a video, we see higher engagement because he's kind of become like simultaneously correlated with the company at this point. And so it's similar to like the creator coming in, but not on a level where you have to hire somebody. They're just already on the team creating content consistently for your brand.
Awesome. We have another question in the chat box. Sabrina, do you want to ask the question?
Sure. So my question is, you know, if you're doing this on TikTok, when do you know that you need an agency? Like at what level should you be to like hire someone like you versus just doing it myself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's two ways to answer it. One is like, as you're exploring and starting to spend on your own, you know, obviously a retainer by an agency is going to be very pricey at the beginning. So I'd say there's usually a minimum by which you'd want to be like already spending to work with an agency. But I think in roughly speaking, I would say per platform, that's like 5 to 7K. But I would say the second part of that is just sort of like, Sabrina, in your role, like if you don't have time or a person to offload this to, and you don't have the bandwidth to actually do it, then that would be the reason to maybe jump on having outside help that is expert sooner rather than later in either freelance form or, agency. So that would be my answer. But generally speaking, most brands are ready for agencies, I'd say at like all in 20K. And I say that because we're talking about Google ads, Meta ads, TikTok programmatic, right? So most of the brands see the best success when they're spending at a higher threshold across a couple different channels. Great.
Awesome. I hope that answers your question, Sabrina. Any other question you want to put in the chat box? Or just
I do have another question, if you don't mind me just talking.
go ahead.
So I kind of wanted to expand from Sabrina's question a little bit more. You know, when do you know you need someone to help manage? And I think for my company now, I know I do need someone because I've been doing it myself as one of the founders, and I find that the time is you know that I spend on social media platforms is less and less, or not social media, but e-commerce. So do you guys have any recommendations on where to look for these, you know, the help that could help manage the social or the e-com platforms, including the agency that will help push the marketing side of it?
Yeah, we could suggest a couple agencies we work with in the space of sort of like e-com management on platform, organic social, and then, you know, there's a lot of players in the paid space too. So we can link out after this, Alice, like maybe I'll give you a link of resources that we rely on and partners we work on in the space, we work with in the space.
I think that's a great question and great answer. Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, if you could share, I would say helpful resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, yeah, a sizable brands in our network, they're in the early emerging phase. So they're definitely wearing multiple hats, doing multiple things. Some of them could be graduating into hiring agencies. Some of them might in the early stage of doing it on their own. So yeah, I would say if there's any way you could help them to manage through the transitional phase, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. We'll share some resources we have. And I think like another kind of thing that comes to mind thinking back to this question and Sabrina's is like the health of the overall business, because we have a lot of brands we help who are, let's say 30% of their sales come from ads overall. They're in a really good position to kind of like grow and scale because they've got a marketing machine that's working outside of paid, and that's a really positive winning situation. Brands like that can sometimes get away with spending a lot less because they know their business is doing so well. And then we see the flip side, like brands that are so brand new, they have nothing else going on. And so they really need ads to drive 100% of their business. And those are usually the situations where it just becomes a huge cost cost suck for them because the rest of the marketing ecosystem isn't really well established or vetted yet. So those are the things that, like, again, if Sammy and I do offline conversations with you and hear about your metrics a little bit more, we can kind of share a point of view that's a little bit more catered to you. Wonderful.
That's a great answer. And actually, I'm gonna add on top of that, Nikki, you know, I think in the early stage of a brand building, you mentioned something about building a marketing engine, which, you know, makes me think, you know, I'm also running a startup. It's all about, can we build a like operating engine? Can we build a sales engine? Can we build a marketing engine? I- if we can, again, be happy to chat with you a little bit more you know, offline, and see if there's any best practices, you know, or pointers, or info to share about, you know, at what stage, or at what revenue stage, you know, our brands could start building a marketing and sales engine, and what that engine may look like for a brand with, you know, I don't know, 100K to versus a meal, you know, couple 100K versus couple meal versus, you know, tens or 20, you know, in the double digits of millions. I think that might be very helpful, right?
Yeah, we can follow up with that. And I know, Alice, we've kind of offlined about that
Uh-huh.
today's conversation even. So I do believe that, like, what we talked through today was a little bit more of, let's get going, let's get $150 out there a day. And that strategy is going to evolve and change a lot when we're talking about, you know, 20K plus even on the TikTok platform.
Yeah, exactly. That would be great.
Wonderful.
Right. Last call. Any last question?
I actually do. I know we have 2 minutes. Sorry, a lot of questions. What do you see the future of TikTok in the US?
I feel like I would need a really solid crystal ball to answer that. Like, I don't think I'm in the right position to really answer that, since so much of it is outside of our control. TBD, but I think for kind of all the things we spoke about today, like, even if you're getting live there and it's going to last for 6 months, there's still a lot that can be achieved in that time frame. And while there's some annoying setup steps, like I know TikTok Shops is a pain in the butt to set up, I think all that's pretty short-lived compared to the upside of being there and having a presence there, even if it is going to be a short-term presence.
I will say, working closely with some TikTok reps, they've shared that, like, they're not really worried about the success as, like, things change throughout this time frame. But like Nikki said, things are still really positive and, like, really powerful happening over there. So if you're looking to launch ads, I would say definitely still do it. It's not a waste of your time or a waste of your money, because it's still really powerful of a platform.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Awesome. With that, let's conclude the webinar. Thank you so much for joining. I will share the video afterwards. Nikki, thank you so much for you and your team for attending and sharing the tips and best practices. I'll follow up, and then we'll share the content, and I hope to facilitate a few good conversations, right?
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Take care. Talk to you next time. Bye.